Hello and greetings from China Development Forum at the Diaoyutai State Guest House in Beijing. I'm Wang Guan. Welcome to the Hub on CGTN. Now, this year's China Development Forum saw Chinese Premier Li Qiang addressing the opening ceremony and gathered participants from around the world, policymakers, CEOs from multinational companies, you name it. Now, once again, the Chinese economy is in focus. Is China's economy losing momentum? Is China still an investable place for investors from around the world? Now, on the sidelines of the meetings, we caught up with some participants. Let's take a listen. Jeffrey, you've been coming to China, attending this CDF. What's different about this year's CDF? What's your takeaway from the keynotes and speeches?
I think the emphasis this year is on the technology. Every CEO is talking about the advances in technology in China, the use of artificial intelligence, the advanced digital infrastructure, the green technologies. So what I'm really feeling is things are on the move for exactly the kind of digital green transformation that the world needs. It's happening in the industrial sector here.
And then China is trying very hard to reassure global investors and the Chinese consumers. If you look at these recent policy meetings, to let the world know that basically China is still an investable place. How do you think this message is coming across?
I think the message is clear because we're hearing very proper, sophisticated presentations from the premier, from the ministers, and I think these are very convincing. The problem is the United States government badmouths China. So the U.S. goes around the world attacking China, trying to undermine China, trying to tell U.S. businesses, no, don't invest there, go to Vietnam, go to this one, go to that one. And China has to respond to that. It doesn't want to respond by having an argument with the United States. It responds in a very mature way, which is we're going about our business. Our economy is doing fine, thank you. We're making advances. We're making innovation. Don't fall into all of this name calling. That's really, I think, part of what's happening.
Yeah, exactly, Jeffrey. If you look at State Department, for example, they listed China as a reconsidered travel country, basically putting China on level 3 alert, only above countries, with all due respect, the brother countries like Afghanistan, Iraq, and Chad. If you're an American citizen looking at this, if you're an American student looking at this, State Department travel warning, I would assume that you will be reluctant to go.
Unfortunately, the State Department became an arm of propaganda rather than a conveyor of factual information. Traveling to China is about the safest place in the whole world, and also one of the most fascinating places to come in the whole world. The idea that there are travel warnings against that from the U.S. is part of this kind of propaganda that makes no sense at all. I just wish the U.S. government would be honest, mature, and respectful in its relations, because everybody would benefit if the rhetoric went down, if the truth were at the forefront. We would have absolutely normal relations together of the U.S. and China.
Professor Sachs, I want to get your sense of the Chinese economy and where it is right now. We talked to the IMF Director General, Managing Director, Madame Georgieva, and she thinks the temporary slowdown of the Chinese economy is a transition that most emerging economy countries will have to go through, from high rates to high quality. From a long historical point of view, where do you think the Chinese economy is right now and where it is heading?
China continues to be a fast-growing economy. It has a high saving rate. It has excellent education. It has a high rate of innovation. The problems right now are U.S.-imposed problems. The U.S. basically said to China, you're not exporting more to us. We're not going to invest more in you. You're not getting these technologies. So the U.S. is trying to put sticks in the spokes, as we say, of China, slow down the Chinese economy. How obnoxious, by the way, that one government is saying, oh, we want you to have worse economic performance, as if it's any business of the United States at all to take that view. That's really the main headwind that China faces. All the other things that are talked about, the real estate market, yeah, there's something there, the local government debt, but not anything huge and significant. I wish the IMF would acknowledge China's problem is the U.S. policies, high tariff rates against WTO, technology bans that absolutely are inappropriate, warnings to U.S. companies, stay away from China, de-risk, friendshore, onshore. This is what is happening. Now, I don't think that this will derail China's growth. The U.S. imposes sanctions on countries that don't have all that much effect. Just look at the U.S. pounding Russia, and the Russian economy continues along the way. So there's a big exaggeration in the U.S. mind of what it's actually accomplishing. And when it comes to these barriers on high-tech exports to China, say of the advanced NVIDIA chips or others, my feeling is China's going to innovate around this pretty quickly. Whether it's 6 months or a year or 2 years, I'm not so worried because China's filled with top world-class engineers and capacity. But the U.S. is trying to put this headwind in front of the Chinese economy. My feeling for China is the world leader in so many technologies now: electric vehicles, batteries, photovoltaics, wind turbines, long-distance power transmission, 5G. The whole world needs this stuff. If the United States is closing its market, the rest of the world is keeping its market open. That's where China's going to continue to have a lot of growth. I want to see China expand programs like the Belt and Road Initiative, which strengthen the links between the Chinese economy and these other economies in a win-win proposition.
You're talking about America's technological sanctions against China. TikTok is in focus again. Its CEO, I believe, recently said that they will not sell TikTok to an American company, which is exactly what the U.S. Congress asked TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, to do. You divest of TikTok, otherwise you're going to be banned in the United States within 180 days. How do you feel about that?
Well, first, the whole attack on TikTok is really totally wrong-headed and misguided, and a kind of American paranoia. You can't have TikTok in the U.S. market. That's going to threaten U.S. security. This is nonsense. So this is the first point. The second point is that there are other forces that say, well, part of the problem on TikTok is it's an open platform and we're hearing things that American politicians don't want the American public to hear. It's said that that's true about the conflict in Gaza, for example. And so they're trying to control the media in the U.S. politicians, in a way that the public doesn't want. I don't think they'll succeed in the end. But I've been through lots of these phases of fear-mongering in the U.S., even during my lifetime, these different phases. And to my mind, this is just another one of these occasions. I think it's completely misguided.
Do you think this phase of fear-mongering might pass? We talked to Steve Orlins, and he said basically China-U.S. relations could be bottoming out. Where do you think China-U.S. relations is?
If the American politicians were honest and knowledgeable, and if more scholars said to the American politicians, just calm down, behave, China's not a threat, ease up, we could, of course, have a bottoming out and a turn to improvement. Unfortunately, the American political class outcompetes each other for saying things that make no sense. And especially in an election year, things are likely to be very even ugly rhetoric, like the TikTok, because each party is outcompeting. Oh, I'm more against China than you are. No, I'm more against China. This dynamic leads to ridiculous approaches and policies. And unfortunately, both of the leading candidates right now, both Trump and Biden, have an anti-China record. So I'm just feeling not very happy about our political situation in the U.S.
And finally, on the Chinese economy, what will be your advice on China's transition, into a digitally empowered, green industry empowered economy? What will be the challenges, and how should policymakers take note of these challenges?
Well, my main advice is really go for it. The world needs a zero carbon energy system of the future. What does that mean? It means zero carbon power generation. It means wind, solar, fourth generation nuclear, it means electric vehicles, it means battery supply chains, it means hydrogen economy, it means digital efficiency. China's got all of that. So I'm saying go for that. And then China is the platform to help the whole world make this transformation. It's a growth strategy for China and absolutely good for the world to have China be making all of these innovations. So I'm very, very keen and enthusiastic that no matter what the US might be saying right now, China should really accelerate this digital green transformation internally and through programs like the Belt and Road Initiative.
Jeffrey, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks.